Rev TV brings the world of motorsports into your home with over 100 live race series such as MotoGP, IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, Extreme E, World Superbike, and the newly launched all-electric E1 series. From 2 wheels to 4, from land to sea, your destination is Rev TV.
Live from Canada, welcome race fans one and all back to Green Flag TV as we swing back to North America and to the Great White North after a absolute blast over in Belgium. And it's going to be a wild one here this afternoon in Montreal. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to round number 5 of the Beer League. My name is Nolan Rempel alongside Acinni, bringing you all of racing action from start to finish here on this Wednesday afternoon. Getting my days confused around here. But Fen, obviously it is the Circuit Gilles-Villeneuve, a racetrack that you and I are very familiar with the FTR Endurance Series with their 4-hour endurance race here, a couple weeks prior. But tell you what, it is a very different beast of race that we're going to have here this afternoon.
I would say those cars a little bit more refined than the raw power of these Pro2 light trucks that we're going to see rip around the Montreal circuit. I think I'm still going to be just as excited because I don't feel like it's one of those tracks we don't see enough in iRacing, or see used enough in league racing on iRacing. And so even if it's with the most unconventional truck to put on a road course.
Of course, we got to remember, of course, with these vehicles, because these are the Pro2 light trucks, right, off-road vehicles, they have mandated that very special rule of there to be absolutely no track limits through the sprint race here this afternoon. So that's going to make for a bit of a wild 15-minute sprint race. Not going to be granted the oval race that we saw when these guys took to Miami, but still,
definitely
expect a lot of grass to be pulled onto that racetrack.
Absolutely. From what I saw in practice, turn 1 and 2 just kind of becomes a nice sweeping right-hander instead of the switchback that we usually see with trucks that are with vehicles that have to take the track limits when they're not being given the opportunity to just ignore them. I think we'll also see the final chicane turn into the final weave. You know,
if that.
A lot of the spots will, yeah, if that, it'll just open up a lot of the more technical parts that I really love about this track. But for the feature race, we'll see them go back to the track limits and having the requirement to make sure they stick within the lines.
Well, we can ride on board with Ethan Condy here as he gets set to kind of take us for a trip. Now, of course, this is a track that we all know, but in these machines, it is very, very different how you go about approaching the race like this. You really got to chuck these cars into these corners like you're running a Formula Drift car.
Yeah, like you're running a Formula Drift car, or some of the kind of more, the mini stocks, a lot of the other cars that have a lot less traction and a lot more give in their slip angle. You're using a lot more of the momentum the car has and using the tires scraping along the road to help add to the braking and getting the car rotated as we work our way through into turns numbers 6 and 7, if I remember correctly, the second of really like the 3 or 4 chicanes that sit on this track.
And a lot of those chicanes, right, in fact, 3 of them sitting back to back to back, each one mirroring the one that came before it, which makes it quite a unique beast to master, because while the 4 chicanes look similar in principle, you got to attack each one of them very, very differently. They've all got different radiuses. Some have different curves. Some have wider exits. Some have tighter entries. Some of them are more clinical, like the 90 degrees right and left that take you back around to the front straight and past the wall of champions. And, of course, this here you're going to be critical as you actually see Condy pulling the handbrake there. Just gets a rotation into the truck.
Yeah, it is probably going to be something we'll see a lot of down at that hairpin in both the sprint and the feature. It's a great way to get these cars rotated because the tires will only go so far, and it's almost like you're hitting a rally hairpin at that point and popping the handbrake there, unless we'll probably see a couple Scandi flicks too if we're going to lean into that territory.
And so, hopping up and over the chicanes for the final chicane there on the racetrack, there is Condi making his way across to the start-finish line. And, of course, still got about 4 minutes left during qualifying. Lap times just like what we saw at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Very, very long lap times, 2+ minutes apiece.
Yeah, which is, I think, a stark contrast to what we were seeing in FTR, even out of some of the more refined or the slower TCR vehicles there. I think they were all under 2 minutes, if I was remembering correctly, with the momentum they were able to carry.
So Corey Barrett right now chasing a 2:03.660. That is his quickest time of the session. He is trying to see if he can go for more, as he's going to slide that truck out and make his way around to the front straightaway. And down to the wire. Could be an improvement here. A 2:03.23. The question is, will the lap count? And it will not. So once again, he's going to find himself on the outside looking in. That's the difficult thing with this racetrack, right? I mean, yeah, you can get around here, but with how easy it is to catch an off-track 1X, because Montreal, as we've discussed before, it is not a kind track to the old off-track 1X. And to these trucks, it's very easy to get them.
I would say it's almost equally, if not easier, to get the 0x contacts on the outside walls of a lot of these chicanes. You know, you saw the one at the start-finish stretch.
Oh, yeah.
As well as into turns 4 and 5, that second chicane, or excuse me, 3 and 4, this is the second full chicane. We'll see all those cars able to hit the 0x there and have issues, and that invalidates a lap in qualifying. I mean, that's the point there. Really slowly working towards, apparently.
So John Combs and Austin Tucker continue to scrap this one out amongst themselves, as you see Tucker making his way up and down the racetrack, and Tucker weaving the back end around just a little bit. And drivers already coming to the end of their qualifying laps. You do not have time to go for another full lap, so if you got a lap going, make it count. This is your last chance.
Yeah, one last opportunity for a handful of drivers. A lot of the field kind of happy with where they've sat themselves on the grid so far. Chris Bright getting an improvement there as he comes across the line with a 431. There we go.
So Crawford, Babcock, Combs, Tucker, Bueller, and Kasich looking like they're going to be on the front 3 rows of the grid, because I'm not seeing anybody else realistically with a chance here. We could potentially see Justin Hall make a move. Hall has yet to put down a lap. He is on his one and only flying lap of the session.
Yeah, I'd say Justin Hall might be the only one to upset it, but I would have to imagine we'll probably see him just outside of those front 3 rows, but I could be proven wrong. I would love to do so. Keeps it out of the wall of champions to bring it across the line for a lap.
Decent run for his first attempt. Goes 18th quickest on the board, so not a bad first try there for Justin Hall. Greg Beckman right now bottom of the charts. He will not be able, though, to make his way around the racetrack. Alex Coffin, meanwhile, trying to extend as Chris Bryant goes up to the 9th place spot with a 2:01.973, and Coffin across the stripe. He will improve on the time, but only just, and he is going to spin his truck out across the start-finish line. So, Fenn, looking like that is going to be about it then here.
I think so.
For qualifying, at least, as no other drivers are going to look to take this one to the racetrack. And, well, that means that it's high time that we take a rundown of who's going to be starting where for the first of the 2 races a day. 15 minutes of sprint racing action coming on up and they're going to line up like this. It's going to be Alex Coffin on pole position. His teammate, Jordan Babcock, alongside him, making it chicken runners. 1-2 on the front row. Make that 3 and 4 as it's a front 2-row lockout. John Combs and Austin Tucker back 3rd and 4th, and then it's Alexander Bueller and Jake Kasich. Back to the field from there as we continue down the order, and it's going to be Aaron Thacker alongside Jason Lee, and then, of course, Chris Bright, Ron Wolf. Moving down, Brooks Clayton and Matthew Dupuis, the last 2 cars inside the transfer bubble for the top 12 invert. Then it's Sebastian Close, Darren By, Ryan Verhulst, Eric Ronenberg, Alex King, Justin Hall, Gabriel Gonzalez, Corey Barrett, Chris Zilfer, Adam Joseph Milhot, Sean Nellen, Carson Catlin, Ethan Condi, Justin Wilson, Ryan Murphy, Stephen Purcell, Greg Beckman, Tyler Augustino, Chris Flams, Ringo Harrison, and Blake Gambrell make up the back end of the field.
The last 5 or so drivers, I remember correctly, did not get a lap time in. So I think it'll make for an interesting start to see where they shuffle themselves out to with this no track limits sprint race to kick us off.
Anticipated to be a potential 8-lap race here this afternoon. Now, whether or not that will actually be the case, we will have to wait and see. But the drivers are all geared up. And we just continue to wait for those final seconds to tick away. And potential favorites to win the sprint race here? Well, there we go. As they jump the start instantaneously.
Taking off. I'd have to imagine Alex Crawford might have a great run here. Jordan Babcock, however, might also have a fantastic one. We'll have to see.
Oh, I like this. Taking actually the pit exit line to try and see if they get some extra speed, and that sets them up beautifully for the rest of the quarter. So look at all these guys cutting through the grass here. Look at how much they got to slow down to the approach, and it's a complete bottleneck right at the start of the circuit. One truck is stacking up on the side. More trucks leaping up and into the air. Complete parking lot at the back end of the circuit, but right now it is Crawford who is taken off at the head of the field.
Yeah, Jordan Babcock right behind him, trying to keep up. The rest of the field slowly working their way through. It feels almost like we're watching a rally cross race with the lines that they're sliding through.
That's being generous.
Yeah, a little generous there, but like it's the spirit of the race. I love getting to see how their lines are developing, either for better or for worse.
Well, the black flag is going to remain hanging over the heads of all of these drivers here for the time being. Obviously, those are expected to get cleared as this is a no-limits race here this afternoon. And, man, some drivers are flirting with that chicane there.
They certainly are. I've seen a couple. We have one driver, I believe that's Chris Zofer, and well, now joined by a couple more, having himself clipped on the inside.
A cute hairpin right, I think this is called.
Yeah. That is, I think, the call they'd be getting if this were, in fact, a proper rally race, especially with just hard on the handbrakes, which does kill a lot of your speed. So you have to use it very sparingly.
Right. Now, this is going to be the interesting part here, right? How does this chicane pan out? And, well, I don't know what I expected, right? Yeah, just straight line. That seems like the reasonable option. Why bother trying to make the dang thing? Heck, this could be one of the cleanest quarters of the whole sprint race, actually, because you can effectively just go in a straight line. And obviously, you got all these anti-cut curves, but with these trucks that are meant to take flight, they're not going to do anything.
Nope, those anti-cut curves, there we go, English, are definitely just suggestions and a little bit of a road bump for the drivers, but nothing that they will be too worried about as they come back through turns 3 and 4 once again. Number 2.
Dear. Oh boy, hold on. Carson Catlin caught up on top of Corey Barrett and almost got flipped upside down there.
I saw a few flipped in practice, so I would be remiss to say it's likely we'll see another one in the sprint race, possibly.
Well, we saw one already on just lap 1 at the same corner here, and this is what happened to Catlin. As he arrives on scene of a massive roadblock ahead of him and just pinned it foot to the floor to try and power through it, and it wasn't going to work.
I don't imagine that it was ever going to work.
It was Corey Barrett that drove in there first.
He gets righted, the ship not fully tipped over.
And here is a sight you are never going to see anywhere else except here.
Yeah.
As drivers try to make their way on through. really trying to cut that concrete barrier as close as they can. Dupuis is playing nice here. I don't know how well that's working for him, though, considering he's down 11 spots.
I mean, he just made up a bunch of spots at the same time, so...
He's still down 8, though.
Yeah.
I'd argue it's not
know.
worth the effort.
I think the hairpin might be the one exception to playing this.
Drivers fire across the chicane. I just hope they don't make contact, because if some driver gets turned to the left of that chicane when they're cutting it, straight lining, that's going to be a massive incident. And here, take a look at this big gaggle. This is for 13th on down. First spot's outside of the top 12 transfer. And it's a bit of a check out there as Augustino gets absolutely slammed by Adam Joseph Mailhot. And up here, there is Alex King. He is currently the driver that is holding on to that final spot that would put him on pole.
Chris is over right in front of him, and now these two are going to be duking it out throughout the next couple corners as King has a great run here. And Chris Zofer kind of just tag Alex King, but going to find that outside wall. And they have a 3 wide right in front of these drivers as well. Of course, quite got that resolved. Okay, good.
Well, drivers continue to fight this one out amongst themselves as there is the absolute melee of cars. And Alex Cofford is going to be watching the rest of his sprinters on for the sidelines. And here's a group going 3 wide and one driver way in deep. And that was, I believe, Ron Wolf. And then you just saw Ronenberg get actually hung up on that tire bundle down to the inside.
Yeah, Eric Ronenberg, excuse me, joining a couple of other drivers that have found themselves on getting snagged to that tire bundle on the inside.
Oh, hold on. Brooks Clayton nearly getting turned down the casino straight. And being bump drafted all the way through by Darren Bai.
So Darren Bai trying to build a little of a gap between them two and Jason Lee right behind them.
This here the fight for the final invert spot. Chris Zofer in that third. Oh boy, a big slider there. Agostino Zofer's into the wall, and he's going to give up the top 12 spot as a result. A mistake of his own making puts him out of the top 12, and now Chris Bright has a big fight ahead of him.
Yeah, Chris Bright now under threat to keep himself at the top of the chain of cars that hang out right behind him. I kind of imagine it's going to be a little bit of pressure trying to find the apexes and exits when they're really just kind of loose guidelines at best.
So Bai, Wolf, and King, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And, oh man, a bunch of drivers just pounding that wall as they try to make up some ground of their own here. Austin Tucker, meanwhile, at the head of the field, trying to run down Jake Kasich for the sprint race lead.
Jake Kasich under fire. The draft really going to apply a little bit for these drivers as they come down the casino straight. And Austin Tucker looking for the line 2 wide through the chicane.
And 2 wide still, utilizing that pit exit road. Austin Tucker's got the inside, and he should get him here.
Yep.
Bullies Jake Kasich out to the left-hand side, and Austin Tucker makes the spot happen. And now, 2 by 2 wide as Alex King trying to hold on against Ron Wolf. Jason Lee fighting with Justin Hall. And, oh, look out as King's going to kick the tail end out too far and clip the wall.
King's turn to find the wall. Will bump him a little ways down amongst these drivers, but keeps himself within the transfer spot for the feature race. Really, you leveraging the kind of the walls, the barriers on the outside has almost like stop gaps. Keep themselves from running too far off the road.
And look at the slip angle that Sebastian Close had kicked out there when he was fighting his way through and just trying to chastain the arm kill. Conde gets turned hard into the wall. While Austin Tucker still in a real battle here with Jake Kasich, Alexander Bueller, and John Combs still sitting right behind these guys as well. Tucker trying to maintain. Kasich takes to the grass, and he's being pushed into the grass. Tucker leaving absolutely no room. 6 minutes to go. And Jake Kasich going to fire his way across the racetrack and nearly gets taken out by Tucker again. But here's the kicker. Now Tucker's got the slipstream down the front straight, and he's got a chance to repay the favor. But so does Alexander Bueller, and Bueller's going to go with a massive lunge to the inside, trying to take that shorter line, but he's going to get cut off at the pass by Kasich.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that line, you sacrificed so much speed there. You saw it happen for Alexander Bueller. Just no good opportunity to really recover the ground, or really the speed you lose in between those two.
Meanwhile, look at this Hornets nest for 6th on down, all for the fight with that final transfer spot.
I'd be a little bit scared to be Brooks Wayne right now.
Yeah.
In front of this pack.
And you're just trying to outrun these guys behind you. Some drivers trying to still use that Armco wall to carry some extra speed going through here before jamming on the brakes and ducking into the grass. And just hightailing it straight across. Now, here's the kicker that I have a question for you as we see more trucks getting put into the wall. What do you think would be faster? A NASCAR stock car following track limits, or one of these trucks going against them? Because those the Gen 7 stock cars would smoke these guys in a straight line.
In a straight line, I would have to say it's pretty close. I'd almost put it a little bit of the way of the, oh my gosh. Sorry, watching a pile up of vehicles. Tyler Agostino, I think, wrapped up in that one a little bit further back in the order. I'd have to say probably the trucks, but only by a little bit because of the amount of time that the stock cars would be braking to make sure they hit the chicane entrances and exits. Otherwise, I would say definitely would lean in the favor of the Gen 7s.
Tucker still with a run here on Jake Kasich, as guys like Jordan Babcock and Bueller have really dropped off from the leading fight here. Tucker trying to send her in. Alexander Bueller this time falling in their tracks and no move able to be made.
Yeah, Austin Tucker trying to keep himself out of spinning Jake Kasich around. Justin Hall trying to keep it up with Alex King as well here. This battle kind of spread out as Tyler Agostino got turned on the backstretch coming into the hairpin just a moment ago as well.
So Hall, King, Wolf, and Moore continuing to battle this one out. As Alexander Bueller making his way all the way up at the very head of the field as Austin Tucker keeps that run going, and both trucks gonna slam into the fence.
This gap now closed down once again for Alexander Bueller to try to make the look into the next couple corners. I think we've got about
2 laps.
2 laps. Yeah, 2 laps remaining to get this done.
Yeah, they're going to get through before the timer expires on this coming lap here. So it's going to be a 2-lap dash when we come back around to it. And with that drone right down by the hairpin, you get a look at several of these drivers as they jam hard to the brakes and try to fight their way through as Chris Flams gets tangled up there with Harrison. Of course, you've got the 318 of Chris Zolfer all on his own, and then further down the field, this massive group still trying to pick each other off as well. Oh, and we just had some...
Ethan Conde.
Wow! Everyone getting wiped out there.
Yeah. Conde being sort of the bell ringer there. The rest of the cars following suit.
So Alex King contact with Justin Hall, and he's going to run to the back of Ron Wolf, who's pulled a wicked slider right across the nose, and that's going to shut him down pretty hard. Oh, here we go. 3 wide into the final chicane. They hold it together, sort of. Conti catches the ball. He checks up into Dupuis. And still no contact amongst the lot.
Yeah, no spun cars. That's one of my favorite things about the Pro 2 lights is how much you can recover a slip angle because of how these cars generate their traction and their ability to recover these slides. It's so forgiving, I would say, especially compared to a lot of the road cars that we often see driven around Montreal that are far less.
Oh boy!
Forgiving. I believe that was Greg Beckman and Steven Purcell wrapped up in one, and now
looks
Steven Purcell
like
trying to flip Greg Beckman back over. Excuse me.
Oh, hold on. Oh, no, he's over the wall. Oh, they've stranded him. Oh, no. Oh, it's gone even worse than we thought it would. And there you saw, it was actually the 42 that got punched onto his roof, and man, the rest is history.
Then gently trying to flip Beckman back over.
Again, gently is subjective here.
Well, within the realm of reasoning, and then Carlos Gatlin came in to help, and there was a wall in the way.
Final lap. Jake Kasich and Austin Tucker fighting this one out. Alexander Buehler very much in the fray and wanting to pounce as well.
I think Alexander Buehler just waiting for one of the late race maneuvers to get to the front of the trio of cars that he finds himself in.
Into the hairpin for the final time. Tucker makes the move. A big dive bomb to the inside. Shoves Jake Kasich out wide. Kasich will have to try to close, but I don't think he's going to be able to get him back as a Tucker closing in down the back straightaway on the Casino Straight. That gap's coming down, and it's coming down quick. Already down to just 0.4 of a second. Does Jake Kasich have an answer for Tucker? 0.3 now, 1/4 of a second, and that draft's gonna keep on going all the way into the final chicane. Kasich's there, a push, a look, side by side, drag race to the stripe, and takes it by 0.02 of a second for Austin Tucker. And Alexander Buehler thought, screw the racetrack, I'm taking a pit road to see if I can head you all off at the pass. Oh, that was awesome.
A fantastic finish there. Jordan Babcock going to come home fourth with Ron Wolf trailing. Just trying to keep ahead of Justin Hall. Another photo finish for those two drivers. 700ths separating those two.
Take a look at the immense run that Jake Kasich got down the straight. I mean, this was looking like it was over for Austin Tucker with that move.
Yeah, I would say I think Austin Tucker chose the right spot because there's not a better one unless you get a better run out of the hairpin versus just getting the track position to force Jake Kasich to go the long way.
And of course, start-finish line at the very end of the start-finish line. You're going to see it right about here. From up top. Holy cow, that is close.
Man. So close. And then if you look off to the right of all that, you'll also see an Alexander Buehler trying to make the same run down the start-finish stretch.
Chris Ilfer, meanwhile, is brake checking the guys behind. He's trying to slow them down. So you got some extremely, I don't even know what to describe it going on back here. Some way of shenanigans taking place at the back. Oh, dear. That was fun. That was a really fun race, though.
I always feel like I'm smiling so much watching these drivers have, I think, just a blast, it looks like, on these sprint races that are so unorthodox.
So unorthodox. And I tell you what, there is still plenty of racing action coming on up here before the tail end of this one here this afternoon. So let's take a rundown of your official post-race results here from the 15-minute sprint race. And don't go away. You got a lot more action still coming on up. It was only 16 thousandths, the margin of victory at the line between the two. And, well, an hour of main event racing coming up in just a moment. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Rev TV brings the world of motorsports into your home with over 100 live race series such as MotoGP, IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, Extreme E, World Superbike, and the newly launched all-electric E1 series. From 2 wheels to 4, from land to sea, your destination is Rev TV.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV as we are gearing up to go back to racing action here at the Circuit Gilles-Villeneuve. Once again, my name is Rempel alongside Acinni, bringing you all the action here from start to finish on this stellar Wednesday afternoon. Fen, a wild race that we just had in the sprint, and we got more action coming on up just up the road.
We do indeed. I would say almost unfortunately at this point, because we've seen what the no track limits sprint race looks like. The feature race has track limits, so we'll see these drivers go from the kind of flat out and no holds barred, almost bar fight of a race. We're going to see something a little more refined as they try to drive these cars within the lines for an hour of feature racing here in a moment as we get ready to grid up.
Well, I mean, as refined as you can get with
yes.
For lack of a better term, it's going to be like doing open heart surgery with a broadsword. Yeah, you could do it. It's sure as heck not going to be pretty, though. Racing action, though, getting set to kick off once again here this afternoon. And for the main event, they're going to line up like this. It's Jason Lee on pole position. He is alongside Chris Flams back there on row 2. Gabriel Gonzalez and Ringo Harrison. Chris Bryan came back on row 3. Row 4 holding Ron Wolf and Justin Hall. Row 5, top 10 closed out by Jordan Babcock and Alexander Bueller. Then it is Kasich and Tucker for the top 12. Back to the field, then it's Clayton, Ronenberg, By, Augustino, Close, Verhulst, Barrett, Condi, Dupuis, Gamble, Catlin, Purcell, Zolfer, Murphy, Milhot, Thacker, Beckman, Combs, Nolan, Wilson, and Crawford for the back of a 33-car grid.
It's going to be a busy grid out on the racetrack, especially with the options of Code 69s. I think it'll be a fun one.
Hey, you and me both. Very much looking forward to this one here. Racing at the Montreal circuit. Trucks that don't typically race up here anymore. Well, Fen, I think if there's anything that sprint race was to give an indication of, look out for the draft down the back straightaway. It could play a big factor in tonight's race.
Absolutely. I get the feeling, especially now we're driving within track limits, the draft out of the hairpin into the casino straight is going to be a big part of the race here as they get ready to go. Waiting on just, I think, 1 or 2 cars that'll probably take to the track here. There we go.
And now we wait for that timer to hit 0 as all drivers are gridded up, all 33 are ready to rumble here. Some drivers already revving up those motors. They are eager to drop the hammer here. And here it comes as main event action set to kick off. 1 hour of racing around Montreal with Off-Road Pro2 trucks. It's underway. It's go, 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 and a stalled start. Multiple trucks stalling off the line. A terrible start for Ron Wolf as he tumbles in the field. So does Chris Flams. One truck finds itself facing the wrong direction. And now that mad scramble all throughout turn numbers 1 and 2. Do we make it through clean? That is the big question. And it looks like the answer for now is yes.
It thankfully is. They're getting into turns 3 and 4, the first of our litany of chicanes coming up. Most of them sorting it out. A couple more still running too wide through it, which seems to be resolving peacefully.
Somehow, yes. Never mind. We got a couple of trucks right at the back of the field, though. So overall, it doesn't look like too much of a problem here down to the tail end of things. Other drivers continue to work their way through that second chicane now at about turns 6 and 7. And for the time being, still looking all's well so clean. At the front of the field, it is still Jason Lee who continues to lead the pack here this afternoon. And boy, what an angle down from the bottom end of the racetrack here as drivers cut their way right down left and set themselves up for that critical hairpin.
Yeah, a good entry and exit is going to be necessary here. You're going to see them probably all slide those cars, or trucks, I should say, slide them through. Maybe not quite as an acute hairpin, but more of an open hairpin now.
Oh, look out, though. Some drivers end up cutting that apex, and that'll get you a slow down of a couple seconds down the stretch here.
Yeah, I see a bunch of drivers lighting up with slowdown penalties. I say a bunch, about a handful. that will need to serve them ideally before they get through turns number 1 and 2. I think will be when that timer runs out for them as they go around past the wall of champions for the first time.
A lot of drivers hopping up on 2 wheels as they fire over those NASCAR-style anti-cut curves. And again, knock on wood, lap 1 in the books, and it's a clean one as the field takes off down into the opening few corners once again this afternoon.
A smooth start so far, minus our couple of cars getting wrapped up in that early lap, turn 3. I would say scuffle. Nothing too crazy there. Jason Lee having a great launch. Jordan Babcock holding on to it after getting a little bump from Alex King. Jay Kasich trying to get around in the process.
Augustino and Clayton continue to fight this one out, and now a bit of a bump there, and 3 wide now through that secondary chicane. And I think that's Chris Flams who stalled off the line, trying to cut through the field here early on. He wants to make up some ground, and make up some ground he'll be able to do.
So far, he's worked his way back up, lost 9 positions off of that failed start. Now finds himself trying to get around Ron Wolf. That's going to be a wide line through there, and that's going to allow Austin Tucker to sneak through. It's always rough when you feel like you nail the apex and you see your car just skitter out wide. The whole fight you had getting up to that position, just going back the way of your competitor that you just passed.
And you can just hear that low roar of horsepower as cars make their way through that hairpin, and they now battle their way down the straightaway. Holy Toledo, what an absolutely intense drive.
Oh, Chris Bright on the lunge right ahead of Gabriel Gonzalez gets the job done. Both drivers now having to serve a slowdown penalty, though.
You barely see any passes into that corner, let alone to these trucks, and for exactly that reason.
And they're end up letting Gabriel Gonzalez through. Jason Lee setting the fastest lap so far for this most recent time by.
Yeah, right now Jason Lee is still leading this race after he started up there. He, of course, finished the sprint race down in 12th. So got that pole position out of the top 12 in for, but so far no one's been able to touch him. He's worked out a 3-second gap just about now on Gonzalez.
Certainly has, but I would say the slowdowns from the drivers that are right behind him probably allows him a little bit of breathing room as a result. Definitely finding the pace in that machine, I'd say, especially with these 2x2 fights we see rather back in the field, as these drivers are still scrapping for positions. I think will definitely allow some gaps to form in the racing action this evening. Themselves zippered out and sorted in.
Code 69 window is officially open. And now, of course, the question comes, when or if do we get one such slowdown in this race? The gap now opens up to 4 seconds as Gonzalez and Harrison continue to be engaged in that physical slugfest for second.
Yeah, those two. Ringo Harrison. Oh, Gabriel Gonzalez having to avoid Ringo Harrison. And that will cost him that position there, as well as a great run from Chris Bright. We'll probably see these drivers swap spots. These cars.
Jeez.
So, I feel like they're always so underrated because of the amount of play you have with the wheel and getting the car to respond, but also the control you have regardless of the, pretty much almost, I wouldn't say fully regardless, but you have a lot more slip angle to work with and have it respond to you than I feel like we see in a lot of proper road cars.
Heck, I'd pay to watch one of these like fully fielded stadium super truck style races. I mean, get these guys into like actual, forget the lights, get them into actual Pro 2 trucks. Then we're talking about a real fight. I feel like the Pro 4s obviously being 4-wheel drive, those I don't think would work nearly as effectively. You don't have nearly as much slip in them. Obviously, the 4s tires would grip a bit too much on asphalt, but you know, proper Pro 2 trucks, put them on a racetrack for about half an hour, that would sell tickets easily.
I would have to imagine it would, especially Or, you know, like we saw with the sprint in Miami, put them on just an oval track.
Yeah.
And then watch them rip around. Either way,
Or
I think.
triple heat format, 10 minutes apiece.
Ooh. Yeah. I like all this.
Full points awarded for each. Last heat, full field invert. Now that's a party.
Yes.
Look
That
at us
definitely is a party.
cooking up bad ideas over here.
Okay, speaking of bad ideas, we have a whole fight that we're keeping up with right here. Justin Hall, Chris Bright duking it out of the front, but the rest of the field right behind them starting to catch up with that. Chris Bright will have to start that to slow down, I'm sure.
And gave up the spot to Justin Hall. Hall, unfortunately, kind of pushed him out just a little bit. Jake Casey, meanwhile, falling victim to Ringo Harrison, who picks him off for third. Casey, though, trying to get that over-under going through the hairpin, not quite able to get there, and right behind him, the absolute monolith of drivers trying to fire their way down the Casino Straight and into the final chicane. Justin Hall holding on for 5th place. And a welcome on board to folks tuning in for the Premier Sim Racing Outlap Motorsports Truck Series as, boy, what a fight we are having this afternoon. And Kasich secures second from Harrison.
Yeah, runs it too wide through the chicane and just pushes Ringo Harrison just out wide enough to allow him the room to slip through, and that's going to bring Chris Bright back in that fight with Ringo Harrison right behind Jay Kasich now.
Justin Hall going around to the outside. He's got Agostino and King back here in the mix.
And while we're talking about all this, Jason Lee just continuing to extend that gap by setting even faster laps. Imagine, unless the Code 69 stops him at this point, or Jay Kasich gets free from Gabriel Gonzalez in front of him, plenty of room for Jason Lee to continue to build that gap.
A lot of fighting still yet to take place. Chris Flams going down the inside of Jordan Babcock. He secures a move. But Eric Rondenberg trying to go around the long way of him as well. Thacker fighting with Babcock as well. This is for 13th place. And while it might look a little bit dim out there on the racetrack, it's, man, what a lock up there. I can promise you, we are nowhere close to sunset. It is right now 11:40 a.m. local time. Just a lot of cloud cover over the Montreal circuit right now.
Yeah. And with that new lighting model, the cloud cover really impacts how bright the track is, and or really the entire environment, which also impacts how bright the cameras, because they don't have auto exposure settings, so that we can just go, hey, get a little brighter, and it'll automatically do it for us. Be a neat feature at racing.
So far in the battle for second, Gonzalez continues to hold on. You know, you take Jason Lee out of the race, we're having a really compelling fight for the top spot here, but Lee in just 11 minutes has pulled out almost 10 seconds on these guys.
Oh, man.
Man, what, was he sandbagging and qualifying?
I think he's just had clean running. Everybody else is running 204s, 203s. And he's running 201s, high 201s, but 201s. And they're running 204.8s, 203.5s.
Problems here for Brooks Clayton. Is that this was on the approach here and just pulls it to the inside and calls it quits. I don't think Gilles-Villeneuve agrees with the number 9.
I have to imagine, maybe not, or technical difficulty of some kind, one of the two. Either way, unfortunate. Ringo Harrison ends up going wide there.
Trying to gear up as Alex King and Tyler Agostino set to battle this one out side by side. Jumping on the binders as Alexander Bueller, Harrison kind of kicks the tail out there just a touch more. Some fenders can get sheared off and quickly are returned to their owners by our ever-diligent on-site marshals. Alex King still 2 abreast with Harrison.
Oh my gosh. And I think Agostino trying to look to figure out if he wants to make it 3 wide or if he wants to give a bump draft to Alex King to try to get this resolved. I think Rico Harrison maybe makes the smart move there by just backing out of it.
You can't go side by side through there on most cars, but especially so in these trucks. There just isn't the room. Heck, you can see with how much they're like dinging off that tire wall. They don't have really room there to go through there at speed, going 1 wide before they hit a fence.
Thankfully, it would be, I think, a 0x unless a car gets spun in the process, but still can add up quickly. Oh, Diego Gonzalez. Rest of this field.
Alex Coffer clawing his way back to the order. He is up 16 so far from where he started his race tonight after he took his signature retirement out of contention and opted to watch the remainder of the sprint race.
In usual Coffer fashion.
Picking drivers off one at a time. He just got around Thacker. Now going to work on Darren By for 16th place. And he gets through. Well, that was a great drive around the outside of that chicane that he got to hold that one firm. And now Alexander Bueller to the next one in his sights, but he's got 9/10 of a second to make up before he can get there.
Yeah, well, he's going to be late on the brakes. Darren By is going to give a little bit of a touch there, trying to keep that car from having too much of an issue. See Aaron Thacker end up sliding out from the background of that as they keep on heading down to the airpin once again. Keep the cars moving in the right direction.
And Corey Barrett now going on offense here against one of the Chicken Runners gang. It's Jordan Babcock. Being muscled out and back from the looks of things. Babcock so far hangs on to the 13th place position all the way in the field, while up front the fight for third is still hotly contested. Round the outside goes Agostino, and he clears Harrison.
Tucker looking to do so as well as Iringo makes friends with the Wall of Champions. I don't think it's the Wall of Champions the way we know the Wall of Champions tonight.
Much less threatening Wall of Champions here this afternoon, even if they did have damage on. Ron Wolf side by side with his teammate Justin Hall. John Combs already into pit road early on. And now here goes Gonzalez trying to pick up Agostino. Now my thought is we might be in it for a 2-stop race, the last stop being shorter than the 2 before it. So we decided, well, I'm going to take that short stop early and get myself into some clean air.
Yeah, I get the feeling that was the plan there for John Combs, and I would have to imagine we'll see him hop back out into this. And given how small, I would say small loosely, because of how fast these engines use the fuel, how small the fuel tanks are, definitely, I think, pretty much what you said, 2-stopper, and the second being a shorter stop. Agostino muscled out and having to probably serve that slowdown.
Oh, yeah.
Ideally before getting there.
Well, remember, these trucks go so slow that you can usually just run down a timer on a slowdown penalty by just continuing to push it full out. So, looking like he may have been able to get away with that as he still remains side by side with Gonzalez, and he's able to hold on. So he was not forced to relinquish the spot. He held on to it. He is up 12 after starting all the way back in about the 16th place position. And now looking potentially for 3 wide for a hot second there down the front. I tell you what, somebody in the mix here wants to make a move, and side by side into the final chicane. Tucker holds on, and he's going to put Agostino into the fence.
Yeah, puts Agostino to the fence, who gets shuffled down this order. And I think the thing I'm starting to notice here is we got a bit of a, I think almost a bottleneck of cars. It's almost like the crab situation. I'm not sure how familiar are with a bucket of crabs. Everybody trying to get out of the bucket of crabs ends up inadvertently pulling the other crabs that are also trying to get out of the bucket of crabs down into the bucket of crabs.
Chris Zilfer comes down pit road, and I don't know anything about crab fishing, so your crab reference is completely lost on me. Yeah.
That's okay. Well, I know what I was talking about, and it looks like this.
I'm sure you got somebody in there.
Sure. I'm sure somebody will tell me that that made sense to them. The one crab fisherman that watches this 3 months from now when he gets back onto a dock from being out at sea. Anyway, point is, we've got a bunch of cars bottled up, and then a pair of cars, and then still a 12-second gap from Jason to Jason.
Corey Barrett trying to hold on, and he's just given up a spot to Chris Flams. He gets fenced as well by Cofford, who picks off his 20th spot of the afternoon. And Flams trying to see if he can get something working with him. Cofford trying to go slide his truck around the outside. That hairpin wreaking havoc on drivers today as we're double file once again for second.
Oh, and these two are duking it out. I want to see who lifts. I think it's Jake Kasich who has the worst run out of the hairpin, but just going to follow Alex King through. And that impact on the tire barrier may cause them to be a little bit torn, especially as Alex King has to slow down.
And Dupuis is going to bail out to pit road. He wants no part in whatever the heck is going on up front here. Some minor separation starting to form. Agostino and Harrison continue to duke it out. And while King and Kasich have broken away, right? And that is critical because they've been able to stop the bleeding up to Jason Lee, the race leader. But they're not able to gain any either.
No. I think that's because they're still fighting each other in some regard. You know, you see Austin Tucker right behind them slowly making up time to these two drivers from where he's at in fourth. But these two still have that 12-second gap, and I would have to imagine it's going to take them working together instead of fighting each other for it to finally finish getting up to where Jason Lee kind of sits on an island at the moment, unless you get a code 69 to bring the field back together.
So these guys are going to keep scrapping it out while they remain too wide. Deeper in the field, 13th place holds Flams and Thacker. Oh boy, and Aaron Thacker with a real big step out. While Corey Barrett still trying to hang on. He's got Alexander Bueller hot on his heels.
And all of these cars in this sector are really only separated by half a tenth or half a second to a second as they're duking it out and figuring out where they want to be. Alexander Bueller trading paint. Corey Barrett there. One getting better line, one getting the better speed out of the exit of it. It's just chaos down in the
No kidding. Harrison and Augustino remain 2 by, and this time neither driver lifting. They remain 2 wide, now 3 wide on the exit of the final corner. And the big loser in that one going to be Harrison. He didn't get the driver on the outside that he needed from Augustino, and that left him vulnerable to attack from Justin Hall. Or sorry, from Ron Wolf.
Yeah, Ron Wolf, who's just pushing to try to find the way around Tyler Augustino, having a great run through these sections and getting a faster lap time through these drivers. Going to push it 2 wide with Tyler Augustino still. And I think finally is going to abate to a follow the racing line. These tracks have very little room to run 2 wide, especially when they make contact with a barrier like that.
Several cars, by the way, coming to pit road, including Coffer, Gonzalez, Rottenberg, Dupuis, Combs, By, Catlin, Purcell, and Mailhot. So I have a feeling here like we are officially at the window on fuel here, just over 20 laps in, or 20 minutes in.
Yeah, I am imagining we're right at that fuel window. I I think we'll be at the fuel window once again at the 20-minute marker. We'll see these drivers, like you said, come in for a shorter pit stop the second time by for all these ones that have stayed out on the racing circuit.
Harrison trying to see if he can open up a door. But a second off to push Ron Wolf. Might be trying to upset his braking point into that final hairpin, but he could come under fire from Hall right behind. Oh, a big lock up for Chris Bright. Nearly takes him into the back of the 64. And they continue to fight this one out, playing amongst themselves. The top 17 all have still not come down pit road, but here comes Jason Lee.
Yeah, Jason Lee going to bring it in and get fuel as well. I think we're going to see a lot of the front runners, Jake Kasich, Alex King, all diving in as well. Austin Tucker choosing to stay out for another lap. Has done the fuel saving to do so. So I imagine Austin Tucker's second stint will be shorter. Chris Flam's also diving in. A lot of the field still staying out for one more lap as well. But the fuel window is open, and undercut, overcut, hit lane strategy is alive, and we'll see how these all play out for the drivers over the next few minutes.
Top 9 continue to stay out on the racetrack. And effects to them all in before too long. Oh no! And Chris Flams has overshot his stall. Has first back in, so Flams' day goes from bad to worse, right? He already has had troubles where he stalled it coming off the line, and then just now missing his pit box altogether, having to reverse into it, cost him about another second.
Absolutely. Insult to injury, pouring salt to the wound, litany of names for it, but unfortunately, always frustrating when you overshoot that box and they say, hey, come back. You went too far, and you're like, shoot. That's, you know, when you're just kicking yourself the whole time you're watching fuel go in the car.
Yeah, all of a sudden, whenever you get those types of situations, right, where you overshoot that stall, that stop seems so much longer all of a sudden than it normally is.
Yeah, because you're then really dialed in on how long you're sitting still. Mm-hmm. Even if you have a pit box time that's pretty similar, you always feel like, man, I'm not here for so long. There's a bright one down Aaron Thacker in the hairpin.
Trying to pick up a run. Justin Hall has got something with Harrison here. Trying to go around the short way into that final chicane, almost halfway home, and still no sign of what would be our first Code 69 of the day. Oh, boy. And Thacker with a bold lunge to get around Harrison on pit entry. Tucker stays out for one more lap.
Yeah, everybody else coming in for their first pit stop for the 8 other drivers that haven't done it yet. Austin Tucker pulling the fuel strategy to try to build up as much of a gap and minimize that second pit stop time. I'm super curious if he's trying to make the one stop happen.
I mean, maybe?
We're now down to 34 minutes. I don't think he has the fuel to do it based on where the rest of the field is driving. And then the pit strategy that seems to be evolving here. But I'm curious if it's possible and he's going to try to make it happen.
And this is a bad spot to be exiting pit road, right in the midst of a bunch of other lead lap traffic here. Now, granted, all drivers they were fighting with before, so we're more just reforming the pack here, but
yeah,
still, it's one of the things, right, where you were hoping that by gambling on a different strategy, you would have gotten something on these guys.
Yeah, that's what you hope, but it looks like for a lot of the drivers, I think the big winners out of that pit cycle, Eric Ronenberg, Alex Cofford, both coming out ahead of Gabriel Gonzalez, not Simrig Gonzalez. So I got a feeling that some of the drivers really trying to get around slower drivers that are in front of them as a result of that 12-car inverse from the sprint race.
So Wolf and Gonzalez keep fighting it out, and contact between the two. And muscling out wide for Ron Wolf is going to be Gabriel Gonzalez, and he's going to seek to try to re-hold that 7th place. One truck spun around to the head there. Ooh. That's Alex King, I believe, in the infield. Tucker finally hits pit road, and how about this for a high-speed pace lap through the hairpin?
Yeah, just a 2x2 for all of these drivers. Pretty much Ron Wolf at the lead of these down to 14. Justin Hall. Mad dash.
Gotta be careful.
Yeah. You always gotta be careful. You gotta play it smart. Gonzalez forcing the issue. Oh. Gonna see 3 of those drivers of that pack we just saw go over it, get slow down penalties. Gabriel Gonzalez, Tyler Agostino, John Combs all having to serve it. Ron Wolf, I think, the only person who survives.
And now almost looked for 3 wide. Thought for a moment Agostino might have tried for it. He decided against it, probably for the best.
Yeah.
Jason Lee still maintains a 6-second gap, but that gap came down all on pit entry here, Ben. So Jason Lee not nearly as confident in pit road as Jake Kosker, Austin Tucker is. Good thing you had that 11-second buffer to work with, because now we can try to see if he can pull away. But for now, this fight for 7th, definitely the one to watch.
Fight for 7th, one to watch. Pretty much this entire pack of cars that are all still duking out for any of these positions none of them have been solved. And Ron Wolf, Gabriel Gonzalez both going 2 wide throughout all this is also creating kind of a bottleneck that both John Combs and Tyler Agostino are trying to work their way through and are unable to do so successfully as the 2 cars in front of them just take up the entire roadway right in front of them. Oh. Tyler Agostino late on the brakes, trying to get around. Ron Wolf now having to do the slow down as he abandoned the corner. Man.
Still 2 by for the fight for 10th place, and Agostino forces the issue on John Combs, just slips through like a sponge slipping out of your hands as he's able to duck on through. Aaron Thacker will drop back to 11th. Bueller 12th. Dupuis 13th. Hall 14th. All still in the midst of this thick battle pack. And keep in mind, this is effectively the only battle group we have on the racetrack. Most of the drivers are at least 6, 7, 10 seconds separated.
Yeah, the only one I see developing maybe ahead of these guys is going to be Alex Crawford, Austin Tucker, and how those lap times change over the next couple laps. But I get the feeling this whole train of cars we have shooting down the start-finish stretch is where all of the action is. As Justin Hall makes a look to get around Chris Bright, and he does so successfully.
John Combs not ready to give up the fight yet. Officially, Finn, halfway home, 30 minutes down, 30 minutes to go. And still no sign of a Code 69, which means that if we do get one, you're not going to have much more than your average sprint race left in this race.
Yeah, that is going to be the concern there. It does really open up the fuel and pit lane strategy if we stay green for drivers to work it out. I think it'll be rough on some of the drivers who have banked on making that stop shorter, try to win back some of the time there. Austin Tucker, I think, one of the big ones I'm keeping my eye on as he came into pit lane last of the drivers that are still working through on this big pack and just ahead of them.
Oh, hold on. Watch the accordion. One driver slipped up there, and that stacked up everyone behind because everyone's using each other as a reference for braking markers. And that's going to lead to another headlong drag race all the way down the back straightaway.
Agostino saying, hey, I'm here. Don't close me out. Gabriel Gonzalez finally giving him the room. But Gabriel Gonzalez not going to lift it all, forcing it too wide.
Ah, he got it fine. Now here we go, 3x3. John Combs on the inside, Augustine in the middle, and Gonzalez out to the right. Oh, Gonzalez fends him off, and he's going to get into Augustino right at the turn 2 apex. Augustino fights him back, and now John Combs trying to hold around the outside of Gabriel Gonzalez. Hits the brakes and sweeps around the outside of it.
Those two are now in front of this pack, but the question is, will they be able to make the rebuilds in time between themselves and the other drivers around them? Or will they have to continue to fight with the rest of the drivers in this big pack as they race on?
A lot of action still yet to go. Alex Cover going to pick off his teammate Austin Tucker. Says thank you very much, as his next target will be Jake Kasich. Cover set the fastest lap just a little while ago, so we know that he is on a massive charge right now. Coming up on Greenfly TV, you've got yourself the Zero Toy Race League at the Richmond Raceway on Friday. SRA takes to Indianapolis on Saturday alongside the Classic IndyCar Series for Bump Day, and they are also alongside the Precision Automobile Club Esports there at Oulton Park. FN, you're alongside Howie Burrows for season opener action on Sunday with, of course, the Blaze Metals ARCA Series out at Homestead Miami Speedway on Sunday night. High Tech Racing is back for more at Charlotte. And the Mid-Atlantic Racing Series is out at Phoenix. Quite a few season finales coming up as well here, fan, over the next little while. Of course, Oma Sorrell and Speed have both closed out their championships already here in the month of November. Also coming on up is going to be the Velocity Online Racing IndyCar Series finale. The Indy 500 will cap off the CIS season. And, of course, PSR is shutting down for the winter as well with their main truck series next week as well. So definitely not a month you want to miss. A lot of drama action, and John Combs slides in deep, and he's going to have to bail out across turn 2.
Yeah, bail out, rejoin the track right ahead of the cars he was fighting with earlier, but the fight continues, and this scrap, I think, is starting to come to a head, especially if John Combs as well as Alexander Bueller, Aaron Thacker all want to try to get through and see if they can't find themselves further up the order. Just pushed Gabriel Gonzalez offline, which is always a rough place to be in this part of the racetrack.
Gonzalez, Thacker, Dupuis, Hall, Bright, By, and Harrison. All trying to see if they can get something whipped up here. So the 87 of Bueller keeping up the fight. John Combs right behind him. Oh, and a big slap into the fence there for Gabriel Gonzalez just in front. Ron Wolf and Tyler Augustino going side by side into the hairpin.
Yeah, Ron Wolf having a bit of a rough exit out of turns 7, 8. Excuse me, 8, 9 for the hairpin.
So the racing going to continue to pick on up as well. 25 minutes to go. And Fed, it's looking more and more like this might be a caution-free race.
It very well could be. We'll have to see, though. Matthew Dupuis, our kind of canary in the mine shaft. I'm using a lot of analogies tonight. Forgive me for this. Going to be let us know that the second pit window is officially coming open as we get into the closing half of this race. I would say over the next 10 minutes, we'll probably see the rest of these drivers come in, unless we get a code 69 at some point here in the next, I think it's 10 minutes or so.
Well, judging by the by how the fuel numbers are looking, you can go about 20 minutes, 20 to 23 minutes on a tank of fuel. So we're effectively at the point where if you pit now, you could go to the end on fuel. So now is just a question of who's going to blink first.
Yeah, and I think it'll probably be the drivers that had blinked earlier in the race We'll then need to, code 69 will begin at the end of lap 18.
Well, here we go. And so they're going to come down now, save under the code 69, and then they're going to be good to go.
That is absolutely the way I think it's going to get done. I think that's going to cause a little bit of frustration for some of the drivers who pitted later with the hope to minimize the time on pit lane. And that still happens, just the effect is minimized versus if they had done it during green flag racing.
So expect to see Jason Lee be the first one to hit pit road here, while others going side by side as they try to pick up whatever spots they can muster on the approach to pit road. And Jason Lee is in.
Yep, Jay Kasich also diving in. Alex Cofford, Austin Tucker, those two drivers working their way in.
Be shocked if anybody didn't pit here, honestly.
Yeah, I would be too. I think we're going to see almost the entire field, if not the entire field, really find their way into the pit lane. I'm currently just watching all these cars hard. Oh, no.
Oh, that could cost Jason Lee the lead here. He had a 6-second gap in the pit road. Is that enough to hold him, though, in the lead with that big mistake? Here comes Austin Tucker, and he's not going to hold on to it. Tucker got out there first on a fuel-only stop.
Yeah, Tucker beating out both the driver he was battling with prior to the pit cycle, Alex Cofford, as well as Jake Kasich, who was in front of him. Jason Lee has a black flag.
Oh, speeding on entry, I reckon, most likely.
I wonder it was speeding on pit entry or an unsafe pit entry, one of the two.
It had to have been the speeding. He got in just fine. So all of this with the code 69 active on the racetrack for the first time today. We're going to take ourselves a step back, and when we return, racing action continues on Green Flag TV. Stay with us. Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where race and action is set to resume in just a few moments' time. Fan wave-bys have just been completed, and, well, the field going to be given the order here to double up pretty quickly here. So, your thoughts on the race so far? Do we get a second Code 69? Because it would have to come out within the next 3 minutes, effectively.
Yeah, I'd say if it doesn't come out in the next 3 minutes, I would have to imagine we'll only get the one. I'd likely believe that we're not going to get a second one tonight. And it'll be a quick 69, I think, if we do. So I think there is no need for any sort of final pit stops, things of that nature. But the randomization gods will do what they want anyway. Austin Tucker is labeled that he is scared from where he is in the lead of this race.
Well, he's on old tires. I don't blame him.
The restart lane call has been given.
So you see the field start to pack up, double file. And now we get set to see who is going to be in front at the end of these last 17 minutes of racing. Heads up. Green flag hasn't dropped yet, boys. Saw Jake Kasich getting a little bit eager. He wanted to jump the gun.
Alex Crawford also waiting for the opportunity there.
They're going to go into the hairpin. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, so that or coming out of the hairpin would be the part that I would think would make sense, but we'll see where we end up.
Field's double file. There they go. They're on the loud pedal, and we are underway. And holy cow, Jake Kasich saw it coming and has absolutely mugged Tucker off the line as it's going to be side by side down the back stretch and into the final chicane. Now, we've seen you can go around the outside of that final chicane and make it work. The question is, does Kasich have the gusto to get it done on race leader Austin Tucker? Both drivers hard to the brakes. It's a battle of the lane breakers. Kasich's got the nose ahead around the outside, cuts across those chicanes. Tucker backs out with the lead, and here comes Crawford trying to capitalize.
Yeah, Crawford, however, both Jake Kasich and Alex Crawford have to serve slowdown penalties coming into turns number 1 and 2 here from taking too much of the anti-cut curbing, and have to figure out how to slow down those penalties, get those slow down penalties served without causing too much issue. I think the choice not to get tires might be starting to come back to bite Austin Tucker just a little bit.
Well, they remain double file from 8th on back, as well as it's single file all at the head of the field, and the Code 69 window is officially closed. 15 minutes to go, and this race is a free-for-all from here to the end.
And I think it's going to be one. Chris Flams finds himself on the wall there on the runoff.
Where,
oh no!
Where the heck is this?
This is on the outside of turn 3.
How is he ended up there?
He got actually almost pit turned by, I believe that was it's going to be Ethan Comby. We'll see it here in a moment. They get into the braking zone too wide. Ethan Connie goes make turn in.
Boy.
And Chris Flams is unfortunately right where the car is supposed to go.
Fair enough. Can't do much about that.
Cue the backup music, or the reverse beep from Austin Tucker. Not Austin Tucker, Austin Powers, Jesus. As Alex Crawford tries to get around Austin Tucker once again, more successfully this time.
So Crawford continues to hold on. Austin Tucker right up the backside and trying to push his teammate down the straightaway. Wanted to help him, trying to run down Jake Kasich at the head of the field. Hard on the binders there for Crawford as he chucks his car into the final chicane, really chasing down Kasich, and he is now within 3/4 of a second, and that gap is closing fast.
That gap is closing fast. Alex Crawford having a fantastic run here since the restart. I imagine Austin Tucker hanging out as well. House King, Eric Gronenberg, Tyler Garcia, a huge portion of the field getting slow down penalties that will have to serve for behind these 3 drivers for the final chicane.
So many drivers here are just really having a fun time. You can tell a lot of these guys are absolutely loving this race here. Crawford also chasing his 26th win of beer league competition, still seeking to overtake Giovanni Romano in overall number of race wins. Now, of course, this year, race 5 of 9. So he cannot get the stat confirmed, but he can certainly tie it up. But he's got to win every single race from here to the championship.
Yeah, it's going to be a tall order. Kind of reminiscent, I think, of certain championships we've seen in real life as of late. But I think it's not impossible should everything play out successfully. Ethan Condi getting that job done there.
And here is Tyler Augustino picking off Eric Ronenberg into the hairpin. Very clean pass there. Ronenberg tried for the over-under. Wasn't able to get it. And Augustino will pull that one out in front of him.
Yeah, you're going to be concerned about the draft here on the Casino Straight. That gap will probably close back down for Eric Ronenberg.
Up front for the lead, Crawford right there at the back end of Jake Kasich, and well, oh, hold on, Ronenberg slideways through that final chicane. He's able to pull it underneath him, but Crawford here looking to potentially have a look on Jake Kasich to turn 1. He's going to make that poke to the left-hand side. Hard on the brakes, Kasich going around the long way as Austin Tucker picks him off for 3rd, and Crawford will tuck him line behind him.
Yeah, Crawford has to serve a slowdown penalty at some point here. Based on what I'm seeing here from race control, I'm sure he'll bleed it off eventually. I think he's got to get hard on the brakes to not.
Oh, and Crawford's got a black flag. He didn't serve it in time.
Oh.
That is tough.
That is a tough break.
Well, I hate to say it, but the chance of the win record being tied by season's end have just gone up in smoke because he's not recovered that in 10 minutes.
Nope, not at the moment. It's one of those things where you get a little too, focused in on a specific objective to remember that you do have to serve slowdown penalties correctly. Otherwise, you have a bit of a problem on your hands in terms of a black flag. I believe it's just a drive-through penalty, thankfully, for him.
Oh, a drive-through penalty. I mean, we're still talking easily about 20 seconds there. That could chuck him outside of the top 20 still with how packed up this field is.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. And with no signs of it spreading out very far, Tyler Augustino getting muscled out by Alex King there.
So it's all up to Tucker now to see if Austin Tucker's going to be able to run down Jake Kasich at the end of this race. And we'll definitely keep tabs on that fight here.
So this battle between all these drivers now becomes the fight for the bottom step of the podium.
Well, Crawford didn't pit. Not that he doesn't know he has the penalty. I think he's trying to get up there to, you know what? If I can't win this race, I may as well try to help my teammate go and win it.
I think that's the plan, but he has, I think, essentially 2 more laps before he gets disqualified for not serving it.
Yes. Yes, he has to serve within 2 laps, which is before the end of this race.
Yeah, I'm not sure plan at this point, other than maybe build a gap and keep the other drivers behind. We'll have to see. They're doing a pretty good job of it by themselves, by the looks of it, with Ringo Harrison and Jason Lee there.
Tyler Augustino. Seeing if he can't size something up here as Alex King and Eric Ronenberg go at it. 0.7 of a second between them. Tyler Augustino holding on for the 6th place position. Ron Wolf and Alexander Bueller also in the fray. Oh, and Ronenberg cuts across the grass, so he's going to have a slow down to serve now.
Yeah, and that'll give Alex King a little bit of breathing room here.
Oh, and one upside down. Back of the shot. Aaron Thacker tumbling out of turn number 9 and heads up stranded, waiting for someone to try and lend him a hand. No one's willing to offer it, though.
No one is yet. Where is... Oh, man.
All the while, the fight for the race lead still ongoing. Jake Kasich under fire. Austin Tucker right there with him. And now side by side into the braking zone, and Tucker's going to take the race lead away.
Oh, my goodness. See who can be on the brake latest, but Jake Kasich has a great run here.
Oh, boy.
These two battling over the sprint finish as well. I assume we're going to watch this go down to the final closing minutes here based on how these drivers are driving.
Well, looking like so far it is Kasich's fight for the time being, and I believe Thacker did end up getting righted shortly after we cut away.
No, it was a little ways longer until Greg Beckman, you see there, attempted to flip.
Brian
Aaron
Murphy
Thacker.
went to lend assistance as well.
But no dice.
No dice.
'Cause I'm still watching Aaron Thacker on his side
Oh, dear.
from where he currently sits. So you're probably going to see Aaron Thacker still by the side of the road as these three drivers come through for the lead of the race.
6.5 minutes to go. There is Thacker upside down and then the grass, so at least he's out of the way. There's
Yeah,
a slight
thankfully.
consolation. Jake Kasich, half a second ahead, but Tucker's now got Cover to help him out with drafting. The problem is Cover's got to come to pit road this time, or he might very well be disqualified.
Yeah, they've got to get that served. So I think Alex Cover is going to try to help one last time if he can, and then bail in would be my guess. But we'll see.
Tucker's there. He's closing 2/10.
Gosh.
Where does
Yeah,
he make
just
that
keeps-
look? A big shove into the final chicane. Crawford still isn't pitting, and he just cut the track again to try to get back up there. I don't think he cares about the consequences.
I don't know, maybe he doesn't know.
There's no way he doesn't. His crew chief would be
Yeah.
wringing his ear off right now, telling him, hey, you got to come to pit road. You're going to be disqualified. Because, I mean, the iRacing spotter makes it no mystery. There's no excuses if you don't serve a black flag.
Interesting.
So likely on his final lap here before he gets that disqualification. And right now, 5 minutes to go, and Tucker still has Jake Kasich firmly in his sights.
Tucker is now waiting for the opportunity to make the pass on the final lap is going to be the goal there.
Corey Barrett has just gotten a black flag as well for failing the service slowdown penalty, so he will be forced into pit road.
Ugh.
Coffer backing off, and I think not going to want to interfere too much in this battle for the lead. I mean, I can understand it. You want to help out your teammate, right? But there's only so much you can do before you realize, well, if I have a penalty and I'm out here trying to make it look like I'm trying to rig this in favor of my teammate, might not be the best of looks. So he's going to get set to come to. Oh, hold on!
Such a big
Oh, that
block
could
up there.
cost him a win right there. That mistake.
It's possible, but he has the time to make up the difference. Gets a great run out of the hairpin as a result still. But yeah, the block up there. And I would agree with you. I'd also say that he really hasn't done a whole lot of active aiding of his teammate in a way that I think would be
Still not pitting.
yeah.
Across the line, what's going to happen here? Well, the black flag still looms over his head, and they're going to let him keep going.
Or is it an error on our end and it's fine?
No, it wouldn't be. So Austin Tucker has closed the gap back down to just half a second, and he has got 2 laps to go if he wants to take this lead away. Oh, critical moment. Jake Kasich clipped the grass on the way into the chicane. And if that's going to cost him on corner exit, the gap hovers around 6/10 still. Half a second back and trying to close.
This battle for the lead, I think, one of the most exciting on track. The battle for what may become third also equally as tight as we get into the last couple minutes here. I don't want to pull away from this, especially in case in the wall hard.
Kasich catches the fence, and here comes the run from Austin Tucker once again, side by side. Covered looking to make it 3 down the casino straightaway. Gets into the other side of Jake Kasich. Austin Tucker continues to hold fast. Jake Kasich over on the left-hand side of the racetrack. Who breaks later? They're neck and neck, hard on the binders between the two. And side by side as they cross to the start-finish line. Cover continuing to make this a 3-wide look. Trying to go for glory himself. Across the start-finish line this time through. And there it is! Crawford's been disqualified for failure to serve the black flag. Kasich side by side with Tucker, but he pulls clear to turn 1.
Yeah, like we see this car disappear from this battle. And it's still too wide as they go into turns 3 and 4 once more. And Jake Kasich getting the better run, but Austin Tucker says, my nose is still in this, and I shan't be denied. And we see Alex Crawford disappear from the racing surface for that DQ.
Still side by side between these two as Jake Kasich pulls clear around the outside of Tucker. And they will remain nose to tail all the way down the back straightaway. Now the question is, does Tucker have what it takes? He's got to do it without help from his teammate now. 0.4 of a second. And Jake Kasich still waiting in the wings just up the road. Down to 3. 3 corners to go, fan. The hairpin and the final chicane. On to the binders. And into the hairpin for the last time. Tucker's going to have quite the drag race just ahead of him. 0.4 of a second. Can he run that down for a lunge into the final chicane? 3.5 tenths. Tucked into the draft. Down to 3. 2.5. Down to 2. 1.5. Tucker's there. Tucker goes to the left. Jake Kasich holding his car on the defensive line of the final chicane. Tucker round the outside, and he cuts across, and that's going to be it. He's gone to slow, and Jake Kasich will take this one away through the final corner, and Kasich, your winner at Circuit Gilles-Villeneuve.
Yeah, a tight battle for what became P3 as well, but Tyler Acinni holds on to it ahead of ahead of Alex King and Alexander Bueller. There we go. Those are the words. For that bottom podium spot, but that was a heartbreaker for Austin Tucker when those tires did not seem to want to work with him there in the chicane.
Boy, they tried, and how about this? Ethan Conde and Sebastian Coles both with slowdowns out of the final corner that they had to serve as well.
Ooh.
What a journey.
Absolutely.
An absolutely stellar race this afternoon. There's still have a few drivers that we are waiting on before this race can officially draw to a close, as some drivers getting rid of their last bit of slowdowns.
Restless field trickling in. Battles all up and down the grid, even in the closing stages, though, for these final few drivers here. And Thacker finally getting righted as well amongst all that.
Somehow, someone helped him out along the way, clearly. But that is going to be it then for us here this afternoon. Overall, let's be frank here, an absolutely fantastic race from start to finish here this afternoon. That was absolutely incredible. And, well, the end of the race is going to look a little something like this here as we get set to take a look at the official post-race results this afternoon. After a tight fight into the final chicane, Kasich comes home number 1. Tucker will have to settle for second. Augustino finishes third with King, Bueller, Ronenberg, Wolf, Hall, Combs, Dupuis for the top 10.
It's going to be Darren Bai in P11, Jason Lee in 12th, Chris Bright, Gabriel Gonzalez, Ryan Verhulst are going to be your top 15. Ringo Harrison, Jordan Babcock, Sebastian Close, Sean Nealon, and Stephen Purcell, the top 20.
And then back through the field, it is, of course, Zolfer, Wilson, Mailhawk, Catlin, Beckman, Murphy, Barrett, and Coffert finishes this race with an official DQ on the boards after he failed to serve a slowdown penalty and the black flag that followed. Then Condi and Thacker for the top 30. Flams, Gambrel, Clayton will finish out the 33-car grid this afternoon with Brooks Clayton, one of 3 that failed to finish this race here this afternoon. A wild way to close out racing action here this afternoon, and we're going to get the chance now to give a chit-chat in here to all the drivers that come home, numbers 1, 2, and 3 here at the end of the day, and we'll look to kick things off with Austin Tucker, the driver that comes home number 1 this afternoon, going to be that of Jake Kasich here. An absolutely thrilling afternoon for Jake Kasich as he takes his 4th win of his beer league career. Jake, talk us through that final battle there right at the buzzer, because boy, what a fight with you and Tucker, and you could, I guess, qualify confident that as well, coming to the white flag.
Yeah, it was such a good battle between the two of us. It really came down to that last chicane there. Both us and I were kind of talking about it. That last decision of whether to take the inside line or the outside line going into the last chicane. I decided to stick it on the inside. I know Austin wanted to be on the inside, and I figured that was my best chance to make sure that I made it, didn't have to cut it, and that's exactly what happened to Austin. And so, it was such a tight battle. I was just hoping I could keep him behind. I was like, I'm going to fight for my life. I knew Cofford wasn't really in the equation because I think he had a black flag, so it was like, let's just duke it out between me and Austin, and these cars are just so much fun for side-by-side racing, so it was incredible.
Kind of looking at this one again from start to finish here, obviously, these trucks provide a very, very unique challenge on from what you guys are used to running here. How do you feel about them? Are you for or against?
Oh, I absolutely love them. They're so expressive with how soft their suspension is. So, the balance of the car is super apparent, and it just forces you to kind of have that throttle control. But at the same time, it's so forgiving on oversteer and contact that you can just brawl it out and come out of it, relatively unscathed. So they're one of my favorite cars that we've run since I've started in the beer league.
Well, we'll get set to go racing in just a little while once again. Race 6 is going to be right around the corner here. What's going to be in store for you as we take to the Formula Vs once more?
I like the Formula Vs a lot more than the NASCAR trucks, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to keep some of the momentum I've had in 4 out of our 5 races or so. I think it's going to be fun. The Vs are a great car, and I'm sure we'll have another good track. We've been having some killers so far, so I think it's going to be just a wonderful time.
Well, we will wish you the best of luck as we get set to go racing once again. Congratulations on taking home number 4 in the win column this afternoon, and we'll see you when we go racing next week.
Thank you.
Jake Kasich comes home number 1 this afternoon, and the driver that gave it a huge lunge into the final chicane, that's Austin Tucker, standing by with Fennicini.
Austin Tucker, walk me through that final lap, the plan there for you, trying to get the win done and dusted.
Yeah, it was such a toss-up. We saw in the sprint race without that last chicane, you really didn't want to be leading through the hairpin, unless of course the car in front of you made a big mistake, as we saw with Kasich in the sprint race, and he just barely was not close enough. But with the chicane, it was such a toss-up. And I think really you wanted to be, whether you were leading or the trailing car, you just wanted to be able to get a slight nose ahead into that chicane. And I think I just tried to be a little bit too fancy, getting a good run out of the hairpin, and didn't quite get what I wanted. And so Kasich, I think, had the nose going in, and as I'm sure you saw, I outbraked myself a bit and just really had no chance going to that final chicane. But overall, it was a fantastic fight with Kasich there.
Yeah, a fantastic fight throughout the entirety of that race restart. The pit strategy there, was the Code 69 something you were excited about or worried about afterwards?
Generally not too concerned. Overall, this race, I would have wanted no Code 69, I think. Just so we don't get all bunched up. Fortunately, we managed to. It was me, Crawford, and Kasich managed to get away from the pack, so it wasn't a huge deal. I was honestly kind of happy there when Crawford got past me, and I could just follow him away from the pack. But pit strategy, I pushed that first stop long. I think I went a lot further than anyone else there.
Yes.
In the hopes that in the event of either late stops or Code 69, I wouldn't need as much fuel, which, a gallon in these cars is probably a second or so on track. And that played out well. I mean, I jumped Crawford in the pits. I jumped Kasich in the pits, I think, and Jason unfortunately had his speeding penalty, so that definitely helped coming out of the caution with the lead. Definitely made that whole restart less stressful.
I'd say, despite making it less stressful, I did see the chat message you put in of you were being scared on that restart.
Yes. King was discussing his level of inebriation, and he was a row behind me. But I didn't know he was on the outside, a row behind me. I was on the inside, so it wasn't too concerning. But he was still there.
Fair enough. Next week we go back to the Formula V's. Are you excited about the I would say, cold plunge of a different type of car than we've had the past couple weeks?
I think so. I mean, I've generally, I think these cars we have this season all fit my style. You have to be quite cautious on the way in, and a lot of people just seem to overdrive it. The V's, of course, are a bit trickier. It's very easy to spin those out on corner exit or on downshift. But overall, I like the V's as it. I know it sounds weird, but overall, it's a very similar style of racing as these Pro Trucks. You just can't run into each other in the wall as much, but otherwise, they're a momentum car with a very similar draft and a similar top speed. So, ignore the size, and they're the same car.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully we get to see you here next week on the podium. Anything we missed as we're wrapping up this interview?
No, I think that covers it. Thank you, Ben.
Absolutely. Well, that was Austin Tucker, our P2 finisher. Congrats again. I'll let you get back to your celebrations.
Thank you.
And then it is, of course, Tyler Augustino who comes home third here this afternoon. And, boy, what a ride it was for Augustino there. Tyler, you were in a huge fight with yourself and Alex King coming down to the wire there in the closing stages.
Yeah, that was quite a difficult battle with him and with Ronenberg as well. I think we managed to drop him with the last couple of laps. But, I think we were kind of around each other for most of the race leading up to the Code 69, and then that entire restart. It was very hard racing. It was a lot of fun, though. We all managed to keep it pointed forward, so had a good time.
Overall, these trucks, it's a very unique challenge. I know, obviously, the last time you and a lot of the gang for the Beer League was out here, it was actually with, obviously, GT3, GT4, TCR action for the FTR Endurance Series. Do you guys, were you able to make the adjustments to these trucks relatively easily from that?
It's funny you bring that up because I was thinking about that beforehand, because before that FTR race, the last time we had raced here was in the Super Formula Lights. And so it was actually kind of a nice progression from don't even think about the curbs to, okay, you can take a little bit of curbs to, all right, just monster truck it over every single curb and you'll be fine. I think that kind of helped a little bit. Plus, it's always nice to have additional laps on a track. It just gets you a faster baseline so that you can kind of pick up. We don't have a lot of time practicing in these trucks. Obviously, this isn't a normal combo for us to be doing, so that 45 minutes or so before the race session starts, you kind of got to do all your learning. So having those extra laps definitely gives a leg up.
Well, the curb treatment for next week is going to have to go from a monster truck down to dainty, right? As the Formula Vs are taking another stab at it here in the beer league competition. What's going to be the game plan for you as we get set to go race for round number 6?
Just show up and have some fun. It's been a super fun season. I think the rotation has been a lot of fun. I'm excited to race the Vs and just, have some more good battles.
Sounds like a plan. We'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing once again in a week's time. Congratulations on taking home podium number next of your beer league career. And who knows, maybe we'll see you 2 or even 1 better next week.
Thank you both.
Tyler Marcino comes home 3rd this afternoon, and Fen, that is going to bring us to a close here this afternoon. What a journey that this race was, and there is still still a lot of action that we'll be in for over the next little while as well.
I'd have to imagine going over to Formula V's. It's always such a fun, the more things change, the more things stay the same. Austin Tucker talked about it pretty well. The style of driving, very similar, but the size of the car, very different. I think we're going to see a little bit more room, depending on which track we go to. We might see the same amount of room because the track is really small, is going to be the caveat there. But 2 wide battles, I think we'll probably see them just with a little bit less door banging in the process.
Well, when we go racing next time out, it's obviously going to be on Friday night. The Zero Toy Racing League set for more racing action here in the next little while here on Green Flag TV. And, of course, after that, it's another run out to Indianapolis for both the SRA Super Speedway Blitz and, of course, the Classic IndyCar Series Bump Day Qualifying will take place as we get set to qualify in 25 through 33. And then the Indy 500, of course, coming up the week after that. From there, Pace kicks off their season opener at Old Town Park this coming Sunday afternoon alongside the Blaze Metals ARCA Series at Homestead Miami Speedway for their final race of the season. The Hindsight Race League at Charlotte will be alongside the Mid-Atlantic Race Series at Phoenix. If you want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, check us out today on greenflagtv.com. My name is Nolan Rempel, once again alongside Acinni. Thank you all so much for joining us as Race in Action is going to kick off next week once again with Formula V's. We'll see you all there on Wednesday night.